Ultimate Business Extension Conference for Women. Today I have none other than the lovely Tameka Williams. I'm really excited for her to deliver her presentation because I've been anticipating it for quite some time now. But before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about Tameka. Williamson, with her master's degree in business and bachelor's in mechanical engineering, is a best-selling author. She's a certified coach, speaker, trainer, speaker and trainer for John Maxwell team. She's also an adjunct professor. Miss Williamson, with her work in operations, management, and people development, forged best practices, resulting in greatly enhances. As a female black engineer with her impressive array of leadership, industry, and senior managerial experiences, she has a long history for developing leaders, students, and improving businesses. This Southern University and Western University graduate is known for her creative ability to engage leaders, educators, and students in pursuing their intentional mindset and win intentionally at leading life. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming our 2014 High Heels and Higher Places.
Well, hi, LaMonica. Thank you very much for that warm welcome. It is definitely a pleasure to be here. Greetings, ladies of High Heels and High Places. It is indeed a pleasure to speak to you today. As you know, my name is Tameka Williamson, and I am your Willpower Success Coach. So I've been fortunate to speak, coach, and train leaders all over the world. Today, I am blessed to speak to you. So let me welcome you to my session, How to Have the Will to Win at Leading Life. The key is having an intentional mindset where you will live a purposeful life at all times. So you may be asking yourselves, what is intentional all about? Well, we're going to talk about that right now. So I hope you're ready. You have your worksheets, you have a pen so that you can take some notes and gather this valuable information. So first, let's define what intentional is. When you look it up in the dictionary, intentional is defined as an action that's performed with awareness, done deliberately, consciously, and done on purpose. So in order to live a purposeful life, you must live a life of intentionality. Intentionality is the key that separates. And I'm sure you didn't wake up this morning saying, I want it to be average, because average is the top of the bottom. It is also the key that takes you from success to significance. You want to be a person of significance because that is a person who has a long-standing legacy of making a difference, making an impact that will forever be remembered, and it will forever impact generations to come. So we're going to focus on some key actions that will to have an intentional mindset so that you can win at leading life. See, the reality is this: life happens. We will have many challenges, setbacks, disappointments, trials and tribulations, as well as valley experiences on us. But do we allow these situations to shut us down and cause us to stop dreaming? No. We must bounce back and keep going. But how do we overcome these challenges? In order for us to overcome and become a lady in high heels and high places, we have to be equipped with the right tools that will allow us to do just that. So ladies, I want you to know we need you. We need you to be game changers and transformation leaders. Our time will set you on the path of becoming that change agent, that high heel in high places. First, let's understand the foundation of developing this intentional mindset. The foundation is willpower is the fuel that keeps you from giving up. It also allows you to have the discipline to believe in yourself and to persevere. As an example, I want to take you back in time. We're going to go way back in time. It may be a lot further back for some of us, but we're not going to disclose what our age is. But I want to remind you, the engine, the little engine that could. If you remember the story, you remember the small engine was the one who kept repeating, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I think I can. Because of her sheer determination and strong willpower, the little engine was able to pull the entire train over the big mountain. So as she was motivating herself, saying, I think I can, I think I can. So although that's a nice inspirational story that we've used for children, there are also as can glean from it as well. So when you read the story, you find that the engine was employing willpower and an intentional mindset. She believed in herself. She spoke encouraging words to herself. She didn't allow herself to get discouraged, wallow in self-pity, and she didn't allow herself to give up. She didn't allow what is viewed to others as her limitations to discourage her and make her feel inadequate as if she could not perform the task at hand. Because she believed in her, she found the strength to overcome and accomplish the task at hand, and that was pulling that train load. So ladies, that is what we must do when life happens to us. I want you to know that you were created on purpose, for purpose, and with purpose. But the journey is not going to be easy. Life is not a sprint. It is a marathon, meaning you have to be in it for the long haul. Happen in an expeditious manner. You must go through the process. Let the process develop you, because the process of developing you prepares you for the next level. You can't get to the next level until you accomplish the level that you're on. And that's when a mindset will allow you to do. It will prepare you for that level that you want, and it will prepare you to get to the next level. So we're going to talk about how we can walk it out and become high heels in high places. Remember, ladies, we need you. You have the power, you have the stamina, the wit, and the leadership to shape this world, to shape our communities as our families. You just have to tap into what is already inside of you, and that's what I want to help you to do. I want to help you to tap into what is already in you, because everything that you need to be a high heel in high places, you already possess. You just have to know how to implement it and how to use it to your advantage so that you can make a difference. There are 8 actions in the book, but we're only going to focus on 4. Before I do that, let me give you a little more motivation. I want to make sure that we're clearing out the cobwebs, we're clearing out doubt and all those negative actions or those negative thoughts that we may possess at this moment, and we're going to replace them with some positive thoughts. So before we get into the key actions that you're going to do, I want to focus on 2 prominent people that you are definitely familiar with. And I want to highlight their story so that you can see how they employed willpower and how they had an intentional mindset to press through their challenges and to pursue their dreams. So as I share this with you, I want you to close your eyes and think about the industry that these individuals represent. How would it be different? Coached, that they've inspired, how their lives would be different if they had just given up. To bring it closer to home, I want you to think about your role models, your mentors, those who have spoken into your lives. How would your life be different if they had given up? And to take it a step, I want you to think about your family, your community, this world. How will it be different if you give up? So I hope you had a chance to just really visualize that and think about that. And maybe capture some notes. You know, some of the thoughts that come to mind as a result of this process. The key is that we can't give up because the world needs you. The world needs us. The world needs the gift that we've been created to share with them. So, the first person I would like to highlight is none other than Tyler Perry. I mean, there are many stories, many people that we can highlight, but these are the two that I selected. So Tyler Perry basically went from a struggling artist to a superstar. Tyler Perry is a director, he's a playwright, he's an actor, he's a movie mogul, just super entrepreneur. Tyler Perry is doing his thing. But about 14 years ago, Tyler Perry was not at the level that he is at now. He was far from it. Tyler Perry was broke. He was living out of his car. He was homeless. He didn't have a place to call his own. Perry went from that struggling artist to what we know him as today, a mega superstar. When Tyler Perry moved to Atlanta to pursue his dreams of producing plays, do you know when he put on that play, it failed not one time, not two times, but the play was a failure 7 times. Now, you know, many of us after number 2, maybe number 3, we would have washed our hands and we would have kept going. We would have given up. But not Perry. He didn't give up. Although it failed 7 times, he persevered and he continued to press forward until it became a success. Because of his determination and his willpower and the intentional mindset to pursue his dreams, Tyler Perry was determined not at the failure to dictate what his future would become. So although it left him homeless, it left him disheartened, it left him broke, it did not leave him broken. And that was the key. It did not leave him broken. His willpower was still there. He still had the determination and the drive and the thirst to succeed. So despite those failures, as well as the demons of his sexual abuse, being suicidal, being kicked out of school. Did you know Tyler Perry only has a GED? He didn't get a high school diploma. Yes, and look at him now. He overcame all of those challenges. He did not let them define his future, but he kept pursuing his dreams, which finally took off in 1998 with that play that failed 7 times. I Know I've Been Changed. And the rest is history, because now Tyler Perry is sitting very pretty. He is worth over $400 million. So think about how things would be different if Tyler Perry had given up. Because we wouldn't have all the Medea stories. We wouldn't have just all the plays he just came out with, his movies, the Single Mom Club. We wouldn't have the gift of his creativity and the many people he's given opportunities to when Hollywood wouldn't give them opportunities. So just think about how people's lives would have been different, very different if Tyler Perry had given up. So that's why it's important for you not to give up. We want to persevere so that we can live a life of intentionality and not live our life on accident. So the second person I would like to highlight is One of my childhood favorites actually, is Michael Jordan. You know, you may think Michael Jordan, okay, Michael Jordan's been hired. Well, Michael Jordan is still doing great things. Michael Jordan he went from a goofy kid to being an NBA great, a Hall of Famer. Michael Jordan was not predisposed to play basketball. There was nobody in his family who was over 6 feet tall. So he didn't even have the height requirement. He was a goofy little kid. He was short compared to your typical basketball players. He was not classified as a basketball prodigy. So Jordan's journey to becoming this great NBA star, but what he did was he turned those obstacles into stepping stones for success. Each obstacle allowed him to eliminate a weakness and inherit a strength. So ironically, his first love was not basketball as you would think. His first love actually was baseball, which he was good at. He received recognition, different awards in that area, but he wanted to pursue basketball because he was inspired and motivated by his older brother. And his goal was to challenge himself to beat his brother, as well as to prove the coaches wrong, because again, remember, he was not his willpower to prove somebody wrong, and he turned into this little scrawny little kid who later in life his height caught up with him and he was able to grow beyond 6 feet. He was able to conquer the stereotypes, conquer those challenges, and become an NBA great. But he didn't do that overnight. It didn't happen on accident. It happened because of his intentional behavior, where he practiced and he practiced some more, and he kept practicing until he mastered those skills. One of his famous quotes that he is known for is this: "I can accept failure because everyone fails at something, but I cannot accept not trying." And that was one of the driving mentalities that led him to have this intentional mindset. He also said, if you're trying to achieve, there will be roadblocks. I've had them. Everybody has had them. But if you run into a wall, don't turn around and give up. Figure out how to climb it, go through it, or work around it. And that's what intentional mindset is all about. You're not going to give up when you have a detour or you fall off the path. You're going to get up, shake yourself off, figure out how you can overcome that challenge, and you're going to keep going. So out of his intentionality to not accept mediocre, Michael went on to garner 6 championship rings, 6 final MVPs, and 5 NBA MVPs. He's now a team owner. He still has his endorsements after being retired for over 15 years. And because of those endorsements and other business ventures, Michael Jordan is worth a whopping $650 million. Forbes just did an article on him. They're actually forecasting he's going to make the billionaire list within a couple of years. Because not part of that $650 million, $90 million of it comes from endorsements, because people are still buying the Air Jordan brand. So I don't know about you, but I would love to go from success to significant, to have an impact like Michael Jordan continues to have an impact, although he has been retired for 15 years from the NBA. So hopefully you are getting the picture, and you are now more empowered to move forward on this journey of how to win intentionally at leading life. So now it's time for us to get into the meat and the potatoes of what we've come here for. You know, that was just an appetizer to help you just kind of wet your mouth, get excited, and get motivated to learn about how to develop this thing called intentional mindset. So again, I hope that you're ready, because now we are about to get started and talk about the 4 actions I want you to prepare yourselves to learn how to employ in your lives. So, tell me, ladies, would you like to be in? Would you like to be a decision maker of your life, determining when to go forward, pause, when to turn left, when to turn right, or even pick up someone along the way? Or would you like to be a bystander and watch your life be played out on a movie screen as someone else dictates your actions and your direction? I'm sure, at least I hope, chose the first position. If that is the case, then why do you allow circumstances, situations, and people dictate your life in the present as well as in the future? Whenever you dwell on your valley experiences, you constantly complain about why things are not going right for you. You play the "oh, woe is me" card, and you constantly have a pity party. When you do those negative things and exhibit those negative behaviors, you're basically living life as a bystander. You can no longer afford to allow yourself to live life as a volunteer victim and become a foreigner in your own body. You must go victim to victor and take control of yourself, your dreams, and your vision, and choose today to live and lead a life of intentionality. So as I mentioned before, there are 8 key actions that will help you accomplish an intentional mindset, but we only have time to talk about 4. So if you look at your worksheets, the first action I would like to share with you is surround yourself with iron sharpeners. Surround yourself with iron sharpeners. It's all about accountability, skill development, information sharing, making a difference. I want you to consider the law of averages. I'm sure in your job or even in school, the question was asked, what is the average performance? Or on average, how much are we spending? Or on average, how much are we making per transaction? There's been some type of conversation around averages and you know how to calculate averages. But when you think about your life, understanding averages also applies there. The law of averages will transcend to your life in such a way that Jim Rohn puts it like this. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Now that's very powerful, because if this is a true principle, then what does your average look like? Who are the 5 closest to you? Do they challenge you to be better? Or do they challenge you to do better? Are they someone who constantly place deposits in your emotional and leadership bank account? Or do they constantly make withdrawals? Lord, please, if they are always leaving you with a deficit and feeling depleted and hopeless, those are definitely individuals you don't need in your life. But I want you to think about, who are those 5 individuals? Write their name down, because I'm sure there's somebody or several somebodies who popped in your mind as I was asking those questions. I want you to write their name down, because you will need to replace them with iron sharpeners. Because in order for you to become a high heel in high places, you must be around people that will help you get there, that will make a difference while you're there, that will stay there and go there with you. Because living an intentional life is linked to living on purpose. It means you are here to make a difference. You can only make a difference if you have the right tools. And that's why we're here today, because we're going to make sure you have the right tools so that going forward, you will be able to live a life of intentionality and have an intentional mindset. So that you're clear about the value of iron sharpeners, the Bible tells us in Psalms 27:17, iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. And the basic English version says it like this: that iron makes iron sharp, so a man makes sharp his friend. Now, if we turn over to Proverbs 13:20, it says, he who walks with a wise man will be wise, but the companion of fools will suffer harm. And for the reinforcement, I'm going to give you another one. 1 Corinthians 15:33 says it like this: don't be deceived. Bad company corrupts good morals. So as you can see, our success in life is a direct correlation of the people we surround ourselves with. These are basic principles in the Bible that applies that transcends across many generations. It's not going to change. So you have to ask yourself again, those 5 individuals that I surround myself with, and how are they impacting my life? Are they impacting my life in a negative way or a positive way? So what does iron sharpens iron? In case you don't know, let's understand the process of sharpening iron. So the process of sharpening iron involves 3 main steps. The first step is the pounding with an iron hammer to flatten out the edges. Once the edges are flattened out, then you have to file so that you can sharpen the edges. Once you file and sharpen edges, you can use that utensil. But as you use the utensil, it gets dull. So that this is where you rub and lift the edge with iron so that you can basically resharpen it again, because when it gets dull and it loses its edge, to resharpen it. And that's the key to having the right people around you. Iron sharpeners, people who are going to constantly resharpen you, because we're going to get discouraged. Because remember, life happens. We need the right people around us to challenge us, to hold us accountable. So that you can identify who the iron sharpeners will be in your life, here are the things I want you to look for. You're looking for people who will, 1, promote you, meaning individuals who believe in you, who have a desire to see you succeed, and they have no ulterior motives. Their goal is to help you be the best that you can be. measure the gap and see what it looks like so that you can determine how the relationships you currently have directly impact the size of that gap. Are they increasing the gap or are they decreasing the gap? So these are your iron sharpeners. Let's look at the second action. Now we know who we need to surround ourselves with. Let's talk about the process of developing defense mechanisms. What is that about? I played basketball, and I like to use sports analogies. So I'm using sports here because some of us may be sports fans. So in sports, we've often heard offense wins games, but defense wins championships. Although there is debate around this quote on whether or not it's true, I believe it can be applied to our lives. Remember, being intentional is all about being deliberate. So just as we are focused and deliberate about winning, we must be as focused and deliberate about how we overcome the foul plays, the tackles, the stolen balls of life that can knock us off our feet. Without a strong defense mechanism, our wins can be overshadowed by negativity, and it can cause us to stay in that solemn place if we're not prepared to handle it. So that's why we're talking about these tools, because I want you to build up your arsenal so that you will be prepared for the different woes and the challenges of life that will happen to all of us. Albert Einstein, he says, problems cannot be solved on the same level in which they were created. So as you keep your tools sharpened, you combine that with your defense mechanism. When problems come your way, you will be able to adjust as well as adapt as you work through them, only if you are prepared for the journey. So we must be prepared. We must go through the process of preparation. Whenever those who like to cook, if you're cooking, you're baking, you cannot skip steps as you are preparing your ingredients, because if you skip a step in the process, you very well are not going to have the outcome that you're looking for. So we must be prepared for what could happen. That's part of having an intentional mindset. Remember, Michael Jordan turned every obstacle into an opportunity. This was because he had built in defense mechanisms that shifted his perspective and his mindset. So what should you do? Well, I'm glad you asked. Here are ways to develop defense mechanisms. Don't allow yourself to make excuses. This is a big one. I want you to own the situation. Determine your next steps. Consult experts and take action to move forward. Because when you accept excuses and you make excuses for yourself, excuses nail you to the problem and it grants you permission to fail. If you grant yourself permission to fail, you would never move forward and accomplish your dreams. So we have to learn how to build up build up our immune system so we don't get sick. We have to learn how to build up our defense mechanisms so that we don't allow ourselves to make excuses. Because making excuses is what leads you to that woe is me behavior and having those pity parties. So that's first. Don't allow yourself to make excuses. Secondly, don't wait. Initiate. A proactive mindset allows you to control the outcome more and keep it from getting out of hand. This comes with anticipating what could happen and developing contingency plans. Because those who win and succeed in life are those who are prepared for life. So again, it's really important to make sure you are prepared and you go through a preparation process. Thirdly, don't let temporary decisions cause you to make a lifetime mistake. This is another key one. Adversity and challenges of life are temporary. When things happen to us, they have an end date. So we must remember they will not last forever. Now, oftentimes the length of the challenge is prolonged by our lack of action, planning, and level of preparation. So I'm sure you don't want these low moments, these valley experiences to go longer than necessary. So you want to make sure you are prepared. We must learn to get out of our own way. So don't let temporary decisions cause you to make lifetime mistakes. You got to stay focused on that goal and that vision, how to get there. Don't get sidetracked by temporary circumstances that can prolong your journey to accomplishing your dreams. Okay? All right, so don't allow yourself to make excuses. Don't wait, initiate. Thirdly, don't let temporary decisions cause you to make a lifetime mistake. And last but not least, very simple, don't give up. Don't give up. Remember, it's temporary. The cycle of life takes you through various combinations of mountaintop experiences, valley experience, and in-between experience. Because sometimes you're just in a waiting pattern. You're in between. You're just kind of waiting. And it's that period where you just have to stand still and let things just play out before you take your next step. So being determined to never give up, but remaining focused on your dreams and your vision is foundation for developing an intentional mindset. Because this will help you fight through the challenges that will arise from the vicissitudes of life. So I hope you see the importance and the reasons why you must develop defense mechanisms. This is part of the process of equipping yourself to withstand, to be strong, to be rooted, so that you don't waver. So that you don't waver. So we're looking at how we can win intentionally at leading and living a life of victory. It takes an intentional mindset to help us take control and manage our life without letting it manage us. So again, we want to make sure we're living intentionally and not on accident. We don't want to be a bystander in our own life. So surrounding ourselves with iron sharpeners and developing defense mechanisms is part of the strategy for getting to that place of victory. And I'm sure you all want to be in that place of victory. Now we're going to move on to the third one. We're almost through. The third action is for you to be willing to shift. Shifting, of course, is all about being flexible, being bendable, being agile, while also being unmovable and unshakable. I want you to be like a palm tree. That's our goal. We want to be like palm trees. Why do we want to be like palm trees? Well, let's learn about palm trees. There are 3 characteristics I'm going to share with you. There's many more great characteristics about palm tree, but here are the 3 top ones I want to make sure you understand. First, regardless of how strong the winds are, how strong the waves are, palm trees are grounded and they are strongly rooted. They will bend, they will sway, they will move, but they will not break. And remember we talked about Tyler Perry? He was broke, but he didn't let those circumstances break him. He was not broken. I want you to be like a palm tree. I want you to bend and adjust yourself as life happens, but I don't want you to break. Secondly, the second characteristic about palm trees is that they are not affected by droughts. Regardless of the weather conditions, the palm tree is not affected in any way until you cut it down. As long as it's positioned, it remains in its stable state. It maintains its greenness as well as its stability. So regardless of what happens in life, the economy's down, you lose your job, whatever happens, you cannot let that break you. You cannot let that affect you. You want to be like the palm tree. You don't want to be affected by those drought experiences. You want to use those drought experiences to make you stronger. The last characteristic about a palm tree is that each and every part of the palm tree can be used, whether it's for coolness on a warm day, which I'm sure many of us would love to have because this cold weather is driving everybody crazy. But it can also be used for building roofs, or palm trees have been used for medical benefits as well. So let your life experiences, good and bad, be used to not only sharpen you, but make a difference in the world. See, we are overcome by our testimonies, and others are inspired and empowered by our testimonies as well. Because our testimonies and what happens to us is not really for us, it's always for somebody else. So that becomes your gift that you share with the world. So I want you again to be like a palm tree. Being like a palm tree will allow you to be ready to shift. So what is shift all about? Well, let me tell you, shift is an acronym. So ladies, I hope you are ready to shift. Maybe I need to get you guys to stand up and just shift your position. Because that's how you're going to be successful. That's how you're going to have this intentional mindset so that you can have a victorious life. So what does shift stand for? The S in shift is surrender. Here you're going to surrender to the process of life. It's that simple. This doesn't mean you ride life in the passenger side, but you just be less rigid and more willing to accept the detours along your journey. Remember the cycle of life. Things happen. How will you respond to them when it happens? See, when you're rigid and unbendable, you're going to break. And we just talked about how we want to be like palm trees. We don't want to break. We want to be able to bend. So S is all about surrendering to life. Surrender control to know that life happens. The H represents halt. Know that it's okay to take a moment to just pause and think. See, if you continue down a path that's leading you to nowhere, you're going to end up nowhere. So it's okay to pull over to the side, reassess your position, make adjustments, and possibly replan, then get back on course so that it can lead you to accomplishing your dreams and your vision. Everything is not going to happen the way you originally planned it. I'm sure you know that. So you must be adaptable. But you have to be willing to just pause, because sometimes we get caught up in the cycle of life and we just keep going and keep going and keep going, and then what happens, we end up on that roller coaster, or we end up on that wheel that hamsters and the gerbils are constantly turning on, and we got to know when to get off the wheel, because you keep going in circles and you're going nowhere. You get involved in the rat race of life. So you have to be willing to pause, reflect, readjust, and then determine how you're going to move forward. So we have surrender, we have halt, then we have invite. Invite is all about asking for help. There is a thin line between being in control and pride. Whew, that's a big one, because I've been guilty of that. So don't let your desire to be in control keep you from asking for help. Because the reality is this: the answer to your problem is always a person. But if we cannot allow ourselves to ask for help, then we will never seek that solution. We'll never get the solution that we're looking for. See, John Donne says, no man is an island unto himself, meaning You can't do it alone. You need people, but you have to be willing to allow them to join the process and to help you. We need people to accomplish our goals, but yet again, we get in our own way because of our pride. Oh, I don't want to ask them for nothing. Oh, they're going to be out in my business, or they may steal my ideas. That's where you go back to iron sharpens iron, knowing how to identify iron sharpeners so that you surround yourself with the right people where you don't have to worry about that. So you have to be willing to ask for help. You can still be the driver of your success and be the driver in your life, but you may have to pick up some passengers along the way. And they will help guide you and help you get to your destination a lot faster. But if you're driving and going through the journey alone, then who knows how long it's going to take you to get there. And if you ever make it there, because you need other individuals in order to be successful. So we have surrender, halt, invite. Then we have flexible. So we've already talked about the willingness to adjust. You can't expect things to remain the same or go as you planned, because again, life happens. What do? So you must, again, know how to adjust, adapt, and move on. And then last is T. T is teachable. This is your ability to shift, knowing that your ability to shift is just as important as the lessons you can glean from the experiences causing you to shift. So we learn from the lessons of the past to prepare us for a better future. So always look for those teachable moments, because you don't want to repeat the same mistakes over and over and over again. Because see, the good thing about God is He doesn't fail us. He just gives us a retake. Now, I don't know if and that's a waste of time. Get the lesson, learn from it, so that you can keep moving. So that is shift. So ladies of high heels and high places, are you ready to shift? And I mean shift physically as well as shift in your mind. Take the time to write ways you can shift going forward. So think about that. How can you shift going forward? What are the things you need to change? I want you to take the time and to write those things down. So finally, we come to the last action. Well, the last of the 4 that we're going to cover in this session. Be willing to fight. I want you to be willing to fight for yourselves. Fight for Team U. Because if you don't fight for yourself, then who else is going to fight for you? Who else is going to fight for you? I know it sounds simple. I know it sounds reasonable, but you'll be surprised how often we don't fight for ourselves. We just let people treat us any kind of way. We let other people throw water on our fire. But we have to fight for ourselves. We have to fight for what we stand for. We have to fight for what we believe in. So what are some ways where we don't fight for ourselves? I want you to reflect on your actions, because they signify you giving up. And that is something we cannot do. So think about this. How often does negative words come out of your mouth about yourself? How often do you get down on yourself because you failed to do something, or you failed to do it at a level that's pleasing to you or others? Do you allow others, as the young folks would say, throw salt in your game, and you not defend yourself? Do you speak disbelief or walk around with a lack of confidence because you don't believe you can do it, unlike the engine who could? If you have done any, if you've done any of these things, these are all signs that you have lost the fight inside to fight for you. So today we're going to declare that we stop, and I want you to repeat this declaration after me. No longer will I let others walk over me, trample my dreams, or make me feel defeated. I am an overcomer, a champion. I believe in who I am and who God created me to be. I'm going to be like the engine who could, but I'm saying I know I can, I know I can, I know I can, and I know I will. I was created for a purpose, on purpose, and am destined for greatness. I will live a life of intentionality because I have the will to win. All right, ladies of high heels and high places, you are now commissioned to win intentionally at leading life. I want you to go live out your dreams and change the world because we need you. It is my hope that you gain some pearls of wisdom that has empowered and inspired you to take action and shift your life on an intentional path. These actions are they're not just philosophical rhetoric that's been researched. These are steps that I've taken in my life to overcome the valley experiences and become the successful entrepreneur that I am today. You know, sometimes people look at you and they just assume that, oh, they got this, they got that, but you don't know people's story. So I'm going to share with you just a little bit of my story so you will understand. I'm speaking from experiences. I'm not speaking and talking about things I don't know. See, I had a successful corporate career. You know, started as an engineer, progressed into management, and have had many great opportunities and have worked for the top of the top when it comes to corporations, from Boeing to General Motors to Home Depot and the like. But life used to be easy, and then life happened. I was impacted by Hurricane Katrina. I've gone through 2 layoffs. I went from having 2 homes to not having a place to call my own trainer and speaker. But I didn't get this place because I gave up. I had developed an intentional mindset that allowed me to have the willpower to overcome those challenges so that I can get to the place where I'm living my dreams out loud. And I want the same thing to happen for you. So stay tuned to my upcoming book, which will outline the 4-8 principles or the 4-8 actions, which the four of them we've covered here today. And it's going to cover so much more information that will help you become a person who wins intentionally at leading life. You can also find me on the social media platforms and my website, which is found on your worksheets. So last but not least, I would like to encourage you to take advantage of my coaching special if you would like to work with me on an individual basis. Maybe you need someone to hold your hand and walk you through the process to help you develop an intentional mindset, to help you come up with a plan of action that will set you on the right course so that you can bring your dreams to fruition. So the special I have for you ladies of high heels and high places is that you will get a 4-hour coaching session with me for only $297. That is a great deal, because that special right there is valued at $1,200. And all you have to invest in yourself is $297. So if you're interested in working with me and taking advantage of that special, you can visit my website, willpowersuccesscoach.com/high heels, and you'll be able to take advantage of that opportunity there. It was definitely been a pleasure to speak to you today, and I again really hope that you were able to get something out of our session, and you will now walk away feeling empowered, inspired, and have practical tools that will position you to live an intentional life, have an intentional mindset, so that you can win intentionally at leading life and be able to have a victorious life. Again, it's been a pleasure. Tameka Williamson, and I look forward to seeing you ladies of high heels and high places. I look forward to seeing you in the future. So I'm going to turn this back over to LaMonica. I want you ladies to get out of the passenger seat of life and become the driver of your life, living a life of intentionality. Thank you, and continue to be intentional in what you do.
All right. That was amazing. Thank you so much, Tameka, for sharing your wisdom. Ladies, it's time to shift. Ladies of the High Heels and High Places Conference, if you are on this webinar, then that means that this message was divinely for you. It is time for you to shift. Do not let this opportunity of working with Tameka, not just another, the willpower coach, pass you by. It's only $290 for a 4-hour coaching session, and I'm telling you, that's a bargain within itself. So be sure to take advantage of it. Go to TamekaWilliamson.com/high heels and take advantage. Ladies, we want to thank you all for participating. Tameka, I love you. God bless you. That was a powerful workshop. And ladies, stay tuned for the rest of the High Heels and High Places Conference. We wish you all the best on your journey to monetizing your brand. Good luck and God bless. Peace.